Hello, today is Monday, August 12th, 2024, and coming up on the show, now chicken can be finger-lickin' good at home. JD Vance caught with nerd crack, and college writing centers need to step up with AI. I'm Dr. Bobby, let's get started.
And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they...
It's been 1 week since you looked at me, threw your arms in the air and said you're crazy. 5 days since you tackled me, I still got around.
'Cause you know where I'll be found when I come around. If I could be like that, well, I would give anything just to live on.
Anyone who's eaten Kentucky Fried Chicken's chicken is familiar with its secret family recipe, and it earned legendary status in pop culture, up there with the recipe for Coke, Red Lobster's cheddar biscuits, or Olive Garden's breadsticks. Now that secret's out of the bag after Colonel Harlan Sanders' nephew, Joe Ledington, revealed the recipe. Previously, Colonel Sanders shared with customers that those 11 herbs and spices used in KFC chicken are commonly found in most households, but all attempts without more information failed to recreate it. The hushed secret family recipe was kept in a family scrapbook, written on the back of Ledington's Aunt Claudia's will, all handwritten. Ledington's attempted to backtrack and question that recipe's legitimacy since then, but you can't put the genie back in the bottle once it's out. Elections are tricky, aren't they? We were on a collision course for a presidential rematch between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, but then a potential assassin shoots Republican nominee Trump, grazing his ear at a rally. Not to be outdone, President Joe Biden steps down as the Democrats' nominee and endorses Vice President Kamala Harris to take his place. I imagine there are skeletons in everybody's closet, but an interesting one comes from Trump's running mate, JD Vance. During an interview on Fox and Friends, Vance's wife, Usha Vance, revealed that the VP nominee played the popular trading card game Magic the Gathering. Vance explained that he stopped playing Magic at age 15 because, quote, 15-year-old girls do not like Magic the Gathering, so I dropped it like a bad habit, end quote. And he felt shame about liking Magic, as Vance explained in his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, saying, quote, I could never tell my dad that I played a nerdy collectible card game called Magic, because I feared he'd think the cards were satanic. End quote. Alright, so I remember spending many lunch periods hanging out and playing Magic with my friends in high school, which was awesome. One problem Magic players then faced was finding places to play for free because all of us were first generation, low income, or both. If you opted to eat lunch outside of the cafeteria, then there were super long tables, and those were perfect for playing card games like Magic. We would take up one whole section of them, both rows, no problem. We never cared who you were as long as you played. For players who struggled with understanding Magic, then we joked that there's always Yu-Gi-Oh!, which was complex in its own right, but not nearly as tough to learn as Magic. If Yu-Gi-Oh! Proved too difficult, then our next suggestion was usually Pokemon. I branched out and played Decipher's Star Wars CCG too, but Magic was my favorite. I believe that as we go through life, there are many times when we make crucial decisions about our identity. But no matter what we decide, we must feel proud about them. Vance chose not to be a geek, nerd, or whatever label Magic players associate today. The reason is ridiculous, though. All of us went on to have full and complete lives without sacrificing Magic. To this day, I still have and maintain a mono black control vampires deck. Oreo's tyranny over the cookie aisle continues with its new limited edition flavor made possible through a collaboration between Oreo and Coke. The cookie parts feature one that looks like a traditional chocolate Oreo, but it will contain Coca-Cola syrup. The other cookie part is red, and when both parts come together, it creates a fizz sensation. Meanwhile, Coke Zero will offer a drink that's flavored Oreo, so consumers who are diabetic or experiencing other sugar complications will still be able to share in its limitedness. No word yet how long these limited edition products will be around, but look for them on store shelves starting September 9th. IBM's Watson may be able to beat international grandmaster chess players and compete on Jeopardy, but Google Google's DeepMind lab developed a robot arm that plays table tennis and beats humans. The robot arm plays against a professional table tennis coach using 2 linear gantries, allowing it to move side to side while holding a 3D printed paddle with short rubber pip. Researchers train their robotic arm about abilities that competitive table tennis players use in order to provide a data set to learn as a foundation. Systems involved with learning how those competitive abilities perform during and after training then help the arm decide which abilities are used during play, but it also helps the arm predict an opponent's movements and match them. A combination of low-level policies and a high-level controller are what makes the robot arm able to win against opponents. The low-level skill policies provide a foundation of abilities that the arm learned previously, while the high-level controller selects which actions happen during play. Researchers then use reinforcement learning in a virtual environment to give the robot arm practice. During its matches, the robot arm was unable to serve, but otherwise all other standard table tennis rules were in effect. The pool of 29 players included a variety of skills: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and advanced plus, and after playing them, it won 45% of the time. Amazing! But how well would the robot arm do against Forrest Gump?
I thought I was going back to Vietnam, but instead they decided the best way for me to fight the communists was to play ping pong.
What if I told you there was a song out there that took 90 hours to record? Well, that happened with the Beach Boys' 1966 hit Good Vibrations, which started as a studio recording with 15 musicians. Brian Wilson's composition involved bongos, lutes, piccolos, theremins, tambourines, harmonicas, and harpsichords. The song devoured 90 hours of tape across 9 months, costing $50,000 in 1966, and adjusted for inflation today would be $400,000. Good Vibrations remains one of the most loved and recognized songs in music history as a result. Don't believe me? Listen. For fans of our show, talking about AI is nothing new, and people worry that someday it will make our jobs irrelevant. I remember seeing a similar argument about fighter pilots in an increasingly drone environment in Top Gun Maverick, and Maverick's response is perfect.
Maybe so, sir. But not today.
One area that's always important to me is higher education, because I used to be an English professor, but now that apps like ChatGPT are becoming more common practice, further discussions are happening about how colleges will incorporate or use it. Obviously, a major concern about AI is academic honesty, especially since AI is able to write full papers. However, AI seems to struggle with performing research and using it well with its writing, and in that sense, it is no different from a student. And how do students help their own writing other than the professor? Writing centers. Writing centers offer students peer-to-peer help with anything involving writing and the writing process, which most people imagine involves traditional papers, but it also means multimodal projects. The article explains some writing instructors fear things like ChatGPT will eliminate writing centers or make them redundant. Although that is a valid concern, as some colleges replace on-campus services with third-party options and organizations, there's something unique about human interaction that AI isn't able to replicate perfectly yet, which is important because, as James Cameron warns us with movies like Terminator, I find those fears misplaced, because those fears and arguments associated with them come from a binary way of thinking, which means things are in an either-or consideration rather than acknowledging AI as a new technology that will help us improve at doing things at a faster pace than ever imagined. I remember a work colleague would always say, "Kick it," whenever she or someone else had a problem with technology or systems. I always laughed and joked with her about Skynet's listening and tracking every time she said, "Kick it," which would come back and get her. Let's think about it further with the crash test dummies.
Lightning crashes on the mother cries.
that's our show. Come back tomorrow and we'll play another one.